What we are about to share today is one of the most heart-wrenching cases ever seen inside a courtroom. It's the story of a quiet 16-year-old boy, standing in front of the judge with trembling hands, confessing to a crime that could destroy his entire future. At first, everyone believed it was just another routine case, but what began as a confession soon turned into a mystery that would challenge the very meaning of justice. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to Sweet Justice, where we bring you powerful courtroom stories that touch the heart and remind us what compassion truly means. Now, let's step inside the courtroom, where a boy named Ethan Miller whispered 3 words that silenced everyone. "I did it, sir." The courtroom froze. His mother gasped, her tears falling silently as she clutched her purse against her chest. The prosecutor smirked. Finally, a confession. But the judge, he just stared at the boy confused. "Ethan," the judge said softly, "do you understand what you're admitting to?" The boy nodded, barely able to meet his eyes. "I stole the car. It was me." Gasps filled the room. A stolen car. A police chase. A minor found guilty. It all seemed open and shut, until the judge began asking questions Ethan didn't expect. And that's when the truth started to slip through the cracks. Ethan Miller wasn't the kind of boy anyone expected to see in a courtroom. He was quiet, polite, and deeply protective of his family, especially his mother, Rachel, who worked double shifts at a diner just to keep their lights on. The trouble began one rainy night. A local shop owner's car, a black sedan, was reported stolen outside a gas station. Within minutes, police spotted it speeding through the streets. The driver eventually crashed into a lamppost and fled on foot. When officers arrived at Ethan's neighborhood, they found him sitting on the curb, soaked, shaking, and near the wreck. No one else was around. At the station, he said only one thing. "It was me." Rachel was in disbelief. Her son, a thief? Impossible. But the more she pleaded, the more Ethan shut down, refusing to explain, refusing to defend himself. Now, weeks later, they stood before the judge. The prosecutor, a stern woman named Ms. Donovan, laid out the evidence. "Your Honor, the fingerprints on the steering wheel matched the defendant's. The car was abandoned just a few blocks from his home. He confessed on the scene. This case couldn't be more clear." The judge nodded slowly. "And the defendant's age?" 16, Your Honor." Ethan sat motionless, his hands clasped tightly together. He looked more frightened than guilty. Rachel whispered from the gallery, "Tell them the truth, baby." But Ethan didn't look back. When it was his turn to speak, the judge leaned forward. "Ethan, you've confessed to a serious offense. But before I proceed, I need to hear your side. In your own words, well, what happened that night?" The boy's voice cracked. "I just wanted to help." "Help who?" the judge asked. Ethan hesitated, eyes flicking toward the courtroom doors as if expecting someone to walk in. But no one came. "My friend," he finally said. "He was in trouble." The prosecutor frowned. "Your friend? And where is this friend now?" Ethan bit his lip, silent. The judge exchanged a look with the clerk. Something wasn't adding up. Every word the boy spoke sounded honest, but incomplete. Rachel's tears kept falling. She knew her son. He wasn't lying, but he wasn't telling the whole truth either. As the judge called for a short recess, one thought echoed in everyone's mind. Why would a boy like Ethan take the blame for something this big? As the recess ended and the gavel struck again, the air inside the courtroom felt heavier than before. Everyone could sense it. This wasn't a simple case of theft. There was something more. The judge had seen hundreds of cases in his career, but rarely did one make him pause like this. Why would a young boy, with no record and a mother who clearly loved him, confess to a crime that could ruin his life? He leaned forward, tapping his pen softly. "I believe," the judge said quietly, "we need to look deeper." When the session resumed, the judge called Ethan back to the stand. He spoke calmly, not as an authority but as someone trying to understand. "Ethan," he said, "I'm not here to trap you. I'm here to find the truth, and right now I don't believe we have it." The boy looked up, startled. "I told you, sir. I took the car." "Yes," the judge replied gently. "You said that. But your words and your eyes don't agree," the courtroom murmured. Ms. Donovan, the prosecutor, crossed her arms. "Your Honor, we have physical evidence and a confession." "And yet," the judge interrupted softly, "something tells me this young man isn't driven by guilt, but by loyalty." He turned back to Ethan. "Who are you protecting?" Ethan's throat tightened. His eyes darted again toward the back of the courtroom, but this time someone was there, a teenage boy standing half-hidden near the door. Rachel noticed first. "Ethan," she whispered. The bailiff turned, motioning the boy to step forward. "Who are you?" the judge asked. The boy hesitated, then stepped into the light. He wore a torn hoodie and fear in his eyes. "My name's Tyler," he said softly. I'm Ethan's friend." The prosecutor raised an eyebrow. "Your Honor, this boy is not on the witness list." The judge ignored her. "Tyler, you seem nervous. Do you know anything about the car theft?" Tyler froze. His lips trembled. Ethan's head dropped. After a long silence, Tyler whispered, "It was me." The room erupted. Gasps, whispers, disbelief. Rachel covered her mouth in shock. Ethan squeezed his fists tight, refusing to look at his friend. The judge lifted his gavel but didn't strike it. "Tyler, do you understand what you're saying? You're confessing to a criminal offense." Tears streamed down Tyler's face. "I didn't mean to, I needed to get my sister to the hospital. She was having an asthma attack and we didn't have a car. I panicked. I thought..." He broke down completely. The judge nodded slowly, understanding now. "So Ethan confessed, to protect you." Ethan's voice cracked. "He's just a kid, sir. He didn't know what else to do. I thought if I said it was me, they'd go easy on us. My mom already has enough stress. I didn't want another kid to get locked up." The courtroom went silent again. No one dared move. Even the prosecutor softened, lowering her folder. She looked at the judge, unsure whether to speak. Rachel's tears came harder now, but they weren't from shame anymore. They were from pride. The judge leaned back, exhaling deeply. "You know," he said quietly, "I've been on this bench for 30 years, and I've never seen a boy so willing to give up his freedom for someone else's mistake." Tyler tried to speak, but his voice cracked. "I didn't want him to do it. He tried to stop me. I just ran. He followed me after the crash to make sure I was okay." The judge rubbed his chin. "That explains why his prints were on the wheel." Ms. Donovan, usually unshakable, sighed. "Your Honor, given this new information, I'll need to request the police report and surveillance review. But I think it's fair to say we've been pursuing the wrong defendant." The judge nodded. "Agreed." He looked at Ethan, then Tyler. "You both made mistakes tonight. But I see something good here too. Loyalty, compassion, courage. That doesn't erase what happened, but it changes how we deal with it." Tyler wiped his tears. "I'll take whatever punishment I deserve, sir. Just please don't let Ethan get in trouble for me." The judge smiled faintly. "That's not my goal. My goal is to make sure both of you learn from this." He signaled the bailiff. "We'll reconvene after the evidence review." As the gavel struck, Ethan finally looked at Tyler. The two friends locked eyes, understanding each other without a word. Outside the courtroom, Rachel hugged her son tightly. "You did the right thing," she whispered, voice shaking. "You told the truth, even if it hurt." Ethan looked at her, tears in his eyes. "I just couldn't let him go through it alone, Mom. The truth was out now, but the consequences were just beginning. Because in sweet justice, truth always carries a price. But it's a price worth paying." The next morning, the courtroom felt different. The tension that had filled the air before was now replaced with quiet anticipation, the kind that comes when truth is finally within reach. Ethan and Tyler sat side by side on the defense bench. Neither spoke, but every glance between them carried the weight of sleepless nights, guilt, and unspoken friendship. Rachel sat behind them, her hands clasped tightly together. She wasn't praying for a miracle anymore, just for fairness. The judge entered and everyone rose. He looked more serious than before, but there was something human in his eyes, compassion mixed with concern. He adjusted his glasses, cleared his throat, and began. After reviewing the evidence, the police report, and last night's surveillance footage, the judge paused. I believe we have a much clearer picture of what really happened. Tyler swallowed hard. Ethan's hands fidgeted in his lap. The judge continued. The footage shows two figures near the black sedan at approximately 9:17 p.m. One appears to be forcing the door open. That's you, Tyler. The second, smaller figure, Ethan, arrives a few minutes later. He's seen yelling something, then trying to pull you away from the car before both of you run off after the crash. Gasps rippled through the courtroom. Rachel's eyes filled instantly. The judge looked directly at Ethan. It seems your only crime was caring too much. Ethan's voice trembled. I thought if I said it was me, they'd stop looking for him. I understand, the judge said gently. But lying to protect someone, even for good reasons, can carry consequences too. You took on guilt that wasn't yours. That's bravery, but it's also dangerous. Ethan nodded, his lip quivering. I know, sir, I just didn't want Tyler to go to jail. Tyler wiped his eyes. I didn't mean to steal it, Your Honor. I swear I panicked. My sister couldn't breathe. Her inhaler wasn't working. Mom was stuck at her night shift. The hospital was 5 miles away. I didn't know what else to do. The judge leaned back thinking. His expression softened. And your sister? How is she now? She's okay, Tyler said quietly. She's here today. A small voice called from the back of the courtroom. Thank you, Ethan. Everyone turned. A little girl, maybe 10 years old, stood beside her mother, clutching a small inhaler in her hand. Rachel put a hand to her mouth. The judge's eyes softened immediately. That tiny voice had just shifted the entire atmosphere. Your sister's brave too, the judge said, nodding kindly. And you, young man, made a choice that could have ended badly. But it came from love. That doesn't make it right, but it makes it human. Tyler couldn't hold back the tears anymore. I'll take whatever comes, sir. The judge sighed deeply, then spoke to the courtroom. Justice, he said, is not only about punishment. It's about understanding why something happened and what kind of heart was behind it. He looked at both boys. You two remind me that sometimes the worst mistakes come from the best intentions. The prosecutor, Ms. Donovan, slowly stood. Your Honor, the state recognizes the unusual circumstances. Given the defendant's age, motive, and lack of criminal record, the prosecution recommends community service rather than detention. The judge nodded approvingly. A wise recommendation. He turned to the boys. You both will serve 100 hours of community service, together. You'll help the police department with youth outreach, visit schools, and share your story about choices and honesty. That will be your sentence. Tyler blinked, surprised. Together? Yes, the judge replied firmly, because both of you bear responsibility. One for breaking the law and one for lying to protect him. You'll make things right side by side. Rachel couldn't stop crying now, but for the first time in months, they were tears of relief. Thank you, Your Honor, she whispered. The judge gave her a small smile. You raised a good boy, ma'am. He has more courage than most adults I see in this courtroom. Ethan turned toward her, his eyes wet. Mom, I'm sorry, she shook her head. No, honey. I'm proud of you. You stood up for what you believed in. That's what good men do. The bailiff called for order as murmurs filled the gallery, reporters scribbling notes, spectators whispering about the two boys and the kind judge. But the judge wasn't done yet. He leaned forward, his voice quieter now. Before we end this case, I want you both to remember something. The room fell silent. The world will often test your honesty, and sometimes doing the right thing will hurt. But true courage isn't about taking the blame, it's about telling the truth even when it costs you. Ethan nodded slowly, wiping a tear. Yes, sir. Tyler echoed softly. Yes, Your Honor. The gavel struck once, echoing through the chamber. Case dismissed, but no one moved right away. The courtroom stayed still, as if everyone was trying to hold on to the moment just a little longer. The two boys turned to leave, but the judge called out, Ethan. He looked back. Sir? The judge smiled faintly. Keep being the kind of friend who makes others want to be better. Just, next time, don't carry their mistakes. Help them face them. Ethan gave a small nod. I will, sir. Outside the courthouse, the air felt lighter. Rachel, Ethan, Tyler, and Tyler's mother stood together on the steps. For a few seconds, no one spoke. Then Tyler's mother stepped forward. I don't know how to thank you, she said to Rachel, tears glistening in her eyes. Your son, he saved mine. Rachel smiled softly. He did what he thought was right. Maybe that's what we need more of. People willing to do right even when it's hard. Tyler looked at Ethan. You didn't have to do that, man. Ethan smiled faintly. Yeah, I did. You're crazy, Tyler said, shaking his head. Maybe, Ethan laughed. But I'm your friend. Tyler smiled for the first time since his arrest. Guess we both got lucky with that judge. Rachel nodded. He saw your hearts before your mistakes. As the two boys walked down the courthouse steps, they noticed a group of reporters waiting. Microphones, cameras, flashes, all aimed at them. One reporter called out, Ethan, why did you take the blame for something you didn't do? He paused, thinking, then said simply, because I thought friendship meant protecting someone. But now I know it means helping them tell the truth. The crowd went quiet. Even the judge, who had just stepped outside with his robe draped over his arm, overheard it. A smile crept across his face as he whispered to himself, that boy's gonna be just fine. Weeks later, Ethan and Tyler began their community service at the local youth center. They stood in front of a group of middle school students sharing their story. Ethan spoke first. I thought I was doing the right thing by lying for my friend, he said. But I learned something important. Sometimes helping someone means making them face what they've done, not hiding it. Tyler nodded. And I learned that when you panic, you make things worse. I almost lost my best friend because I didn't trust people to help me. A young boy in the audience raised his hand. So, the judge wasn't mad? Ethan smiled. No, he wasn't mad. He just wanted us to learn, and he made us promise to help others not make the same mistakes. The room erupted in small applause. As they packed up their things afterward, Tyler nudged Ethan. You know, this isn't such a bad punishment, Ethan laughed. Yeah. Beats jail. Beats losing a friend, Tyler replied. They shared a quiet smile, the kind of friendship forged in fire and truth. Back in the judge's chambers, the old man sat by his window, looking down at the courthouse courtyard. He'd just received a letter. It was from Ethan. Dear Your Honor, I wanted to thank you for believing in us. I used to think judges only cared about rules. But you showed me that real justice has a heart. I'm thinking about becoming a lawyer someday, maybe even a judge. Because if people like you didn't give second chances, kids like us wouldn't have one. With gratitude, Ethan Miller. The judge smiled, folding the letter carefully. He placed it inside his desk drawer, the same drawer where he kept letters that mattered. Letters that reminded him why he chose this job. He whispered softly, Sweet justice. And as the sunlight streamed into his office, the story of a boy who took the blame, and the truth that set him free, became another reminder that sometimes the most powerful verdict is compassion itself.